Okay, hello, and welcome back into another episode of Craven Some Raven. And in this episode, I'm going to be talking about that Chiefs game. You know, what it means for our team, maybe a little bit of breakdown. You know, just talking about this game. I normally record these podcasts on a Monday, and it is a Monday, but I like to do that because I like to record it without emotion. Well, not without emotion, but I mean, not post game, fresh on my mind, too hyped to whatever, have at least a day to think about it. And then it also gives me a chance to rewatch the game and kind of dissect it a little bit more. But I knew any after a loss, it's so tough to watch a game. I turned it on to rewatch it. That first drive starts going and then they start moving the ball and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't fucking do this. I'm out. I'm just going to record this podcast and just go based off of memory. It's too tough to rewatch a loss. It's not fun. And I knew doing the podcast, this was going to be the tricky part, talking about a loss and trying to go over it. But, as losses go, this isn't the worst. I'm not panicking. Listen, even a 15-1 team loses once, so we'll just hope for that. We'll hope we just win out for the rest of the time and hope that we get a rematch versus the Chiefs later on in the playoffs or possibly in the championship game, depending on how things are seeded. Because I still do think this is a playoff team. I still think we are one of the top 3 teams in the AFC. I just think we went up in weight class and we tried to go against the Chiefs' offense. Our defense was definitely not ready. We didn't have all of our corners. It was going to be tough sledding either way, but without those guys in the secondary, plus just not really putting it together on offense. The offense not clicking for about 3 quarters. That'll cause you to lose. Now it came pretty close towards the end there, so not too shabby, not too bad. Lamar Jackson, he's got that clutch gene in him. He's kind of got that ability to just when it counts, start making a play. He allowed our team to come back, but he was going to need some help from the defense, and they just quite couldn't get there. They got 1 stop, and then they needed 2 stops, and the Chiefs were being stopped. They were on 3rd down to get us the ball back, and for us to possibly go down and score and win. And we would have had to get a touchdown, but man, they ran a screen and our guys weren't there, and it was just not good, man. It's just not good if a team puts 30 up on you. I mean, even if you win, watching the game, it's especially as a Ravens fan, just watching them just move the ball, march up and down the field, and score on like an 83-yard pass. It's fuck. Come on, man. Like, come on, guys. What the hell are you doing? And, the Chiefs, they were able to run the ball, too. They were running the ball. Whenever they ran, they had success. I mean, not every single time, not early on in the game, but later on when, our defense is just expecting the pass, just expecting them to air it out and launch the ball downfield. I think we kind of let up a little bit versus the run. Trying to think, they set up the run via the pass. Normally a team, they run the ball to set up the pass, but the Chiefs are a completely different way, and I think most teams should be that way, pass the ball to set up the run. But with a team like ours, with the Ravens, we can just run the ball willy-nilly. We put up another 200 yards, so running the ball is not our weak spot. And it was kind of a shame, like, watching the game, like, what we were able to run the ball, and it seemed like Lamar Jackson just wasn't on one, wasn't in tune with his receivers. Now, I think part of that is because he wasn't throwing it up and down. He wasn't throwing rainbows. He was throwing ropes. You got to let your receivers go and get under it. You can't just try to beam the ball at them. You are not Patrick Mahomes. But, it seemed like we got away what going into this game we thought would work, which is running the ball and at least, putting up a fight on defense, limiting Patrick Mahomes' chances on the field. Time of possession, that's how you beat this team. To beat the Chiefs, we have to play our style of game. which is defense, time of possession, and running the ball with a few deep shots downfield. That is how we win. That is our game plan, and it should be our game plan going into each and every game. And I think if we would have stuck to that kind of script, I think we would have been a little bit better down the stretch there. I mean, we only lost by 5, so we did cover the spread. So I got that bet right. I bet the Ravens with +7, so at least I won some money on it. But I did, in my pick'ems in the Dick Picks episode, I did pick them to win, so that was a loss. And all these afternoon games for me were losses, except for one. So hopefully, if the Redskins win this week, I will go 10-6. I do believe. Let me count these off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, right now I am 9-6. So I either go 9-7 or 10-6. So I'm obviously hoping for the 10-6, because that's a playoff team, right? So it's at least a wild card spot, usually. So listen, this was just a rough game, man. The Chiefs, I don't think they're stopping the Chiefs. I think they will get big plays no matter what. I think you got a great offensive scheme with Andy Reid at the helm, and he's got excellent wide receivers, fast wide receivers, so they can get anywhere on the field. And you got a quarterback in Patrick Mahomes who is accurate with the ball, can throw it off any platform, and is willing to throw it. Even into tight coverage, he is willing to throw it. There are a few times where we got our hands on the ball, or we almost had an interception, or had an interception. It's just, an inch away, or a penalty, or anything. It was just, man, we just kept getting our momentum stopped, really. Not anytime, but most times we had a big play, either offensive or defensively, there would be a fucking penalty. And it's like, okay, come on, guys. Like, how are you going to call that? Seriously? But then even if they call it, it's like, all right, whatever. It seems like they're calling this all game. But the Chiefs only had, one fucking penalty? That is some hometown right there. We definitely got hometown. You can't blame the refs for our losing. I think we were playing worse than the Chiefs were. We weren't executing at the same level. So I'm not saying that the refs lost us that game. It's just a few times where it's like, okay, here come the Ravens. This is what we've seen before. This is what we expect. And this is the style of game that they play. But then there's a fucking penalty, and it's like, how are you going to call that, bro? And then when there's other stuff, it's super obvious, even on us. It's like, why would you not call that? Like, Matthew Judon, man. He makes some good plays, but then he does some boneheaded bullshit, like roughing the passer with a collar, like a horse collar tackle. Like, come on, man, what are you doing? We definitely got a couple roughing the passer penalties. We were getting to Mahomes early on, but then we just stopped. It's like we were just, all right, they're beating us with the pass. Let's just drop back in coverage. And I think part of that is because they were still being able to they were able to pass the ball deep downfield, the Chiefs were, and we didn't have an answer. So we thought, hey, if we go in coverage, maybe that'll stop it. But you know what? It's just we had breakdowns. And I think that's a symptom of our best guys not playing. And due to our best guys not playing, we had to play more zone, and we had to have more communication in the back end. And that's when kind of things went out of hand. That's how you got that Mecole Hardman going 80 yards down the field, wide open. Maurice Kennedy thought he was passing him off, and he just passed him off to the end zone. That's what he did there. And so I did see someone post on Ravens Reddit an image of Mecole Hardman over the line of scrimmage. Now, that blue line isn't exact, but I mean, if he was over the line, man, play doesn't count. But I think our defense, with those guys out, we're not able to play man-to-man. It's really simple when your defensive game plan is, all right, you cover him, and that's it. And that way you can get exotic with your blitzes. You can disguise, underneath sort of coverages, but you can send a lot of blitzers, and that's how we get to the quarterback. That's the way we are able to generate a pass rush, because we don't have those guys. We don't have the top-end talent kind of at that pass rusher position. Even John Harbaugh talked about it. He was talking about, yeah, listen, those guys, man, they got to produce more. He was saying it in his not post game, but review of the game press conference, I guess. His coach's podcast review of the game that he did today, and they're asking about it. The the media members were asking him about it, and he's saying, yeah, man, they gotta play better. They have to prove that they're the guys, and they have not done that so far. So it's a shame. I wish we were able to get to the quarterback with 4 guys, but that's not our plan. Our plan is to have a great secondary, let those guys do their thing one-on-one, and if they get beat, they get beat. You have to beat us. But yesterday it seemed like the Ravens were definitely helping them out. We were not our best. I don't even think we were our second best. We were pretty mediocre in the way we were playing the game. And it's still pretty shocking that it came down to the wire, that we were only down by 5 and with a chance to win, or close to a chance to win. And some of that, let's see, what do I want to talk about next? Because I don't know, technically we put up enough to win last year, but it's a whole different game. So it's like if you go from last year to this year, we lost 27-24 that game, and then this week it's like, oh well, we got 28, so okay, we would have won. We improved to the point where we would have won, but we just didn't play great on defense, man. There's a lot to break down with this game. Let me talk about. Before I get back to the team, I'll talk about some coaching. Because John Harbaugh made it clear that he wants to keep the Ravens on the field. And he decided to go for it a lot. And then go for the 2-point conversion. A lot. Every time. And I think part of that, the first time, I believe the thinking was, hey, we get this. Then in a shootout scenario, we are always going to be up by 1. If we go toe to toe, and I'm thinking that's what he was going for. Excuse me. Because he figured, we can get 2 yards. We have a good dynamic offense. We have proven that we can move the ball down the field. These past 2 games, at least, Lamar Jackson has improved, and so we think we can go down and continue to put up points at the same rate that the Chiefs are. Now, obviously, that wasn't the case, but I understand the thinking. And then, so you go for it the first time, I understand that. And then the second time, you almost have to go for it because you missed it the first time. So the second time, you have to go for it. Now you gotta make back those points as if you just kicked it both times. And after the 3rd touchdown, it's like, well, we went for it the other times. Might as well go now. And I understand if we would have been down by 10 if we didn't go for it. But I believe the thinking was, hey, let's just keep on it. I mean, I think the last going for 2, I think that's just because he was in the going for 2 type mood, and he was pissed off that his team wasn't able to get it the first 2 times. So he's like, all right, fuckers, let's see if we can get this. If you guys can't get this, everyone's fired. Maybe not so much that, but I think his thinking was that, hey, we should be able to get this. Who are you guys? Ravens. Who are you guys? Ravens. Let's get it. I mean, that's probably his thinking. I mean, that's my thinking. You should be able to get 2 fucking yards, At the goal line 3 separate times, you should be able to get that at least once. And we just couldn't do it. I don't know if that's play calling or execution, but either way, we just couldn't get it done. The Chiefs played a better game than we did, at least defensively. And I think, so we lost by 5 points, right? So if we kicked it each time, we would have lost by 2 points. Ooh, whoop-de-freaking-do. If we got each one, we would have been up by a point. We were down by 5, going for it for the 2-point conversion 3 times. That's 6 points. We would be in the lead, right? Isn't that how math works? We would have maybe won that game. Now, I don't want to say that definitively because, if we are closer, maybe the Chiefs don't get as conservative and continue to try to throw the ball deep and they continue to convert on some of those. So, who really knows? But I understand why John Harbaugh wanted to be aggressive, and I understand it, and I'm not going to knock him for it because it's, if you get it, amazing, you're a genius, John Harbaugh, Coach of the Year. But if you don't, then it's, well, what a fucking waste. Why would you do that? Why are you even a coach? That's what happens when you gamble like that. It's you got to risk it to get the biscuit, and if you don't get the biscuit, I mean, you ain't eating. So it's hindsight's 2020. So it's very easy to criticize what John Harbaugh did in that game, coaching wise. It's easy to criticize him, but at the moment, you don't know how the game's going to end. What if we do stop Patrick Mahomes and he doesn't convert on that third and whatever with a screen pass? What if they don't convert that and they punt the ball and we go down and score? Then we win the fucking game. Because if we would have taken all 4 minutes of that time to get down the field, I think we would have just ran it straight down the field. But, speaking on that run game, man, we put up another 200 points. I know I mentioned it, but listen, that was our game plan. That's what we should have done. The run was working early on in the game, late in the game. It was working all fucking game. That's why I don't understand when the pass doesn't seem to be there, where at least Lamar doesn't seem in sync with his receivers and tight ends. Why don't you just continue to run the ball? Gus Edwards was running it seemed like 15 yards a clip. Like, he was balling. And I was thinking to myself, I know Mark Ingram, he is the back we're paying. He has all 3 touchdowns. But Gus Edwards is playing better. Like, you go with the hot hand. If Gus Edwards was running the whole game, man, we would have been able to move the ball a lot better than we did. Because with Lamar Jackson not connecting with his wide receivers, you need to be able to move the ball with a lot of success. And Gus Edwards was doing that, man. That's part of the coaching that I don't understand. Run Gus Edwards. Use Gus the Bus to transport your players to the win, right? All aboard the Gus bus. Where you headed? And it's, damn it, you should have used, coulda, shoulda, woulda. That's what it always comes with a loss, that and excuses, and you don't want to do any of that. And it's like, fuck, man, if we did this, if we did that, we could have won, man. We could have won. We had it in the bag. And you don't know that for sure, but it feels like it, right? If there weren't such iffy calls, if we had our starting wide receiver or cornerbacks, then maybe we had a chance if we ran the ball more. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Woulda, shoulda, coulda. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Am I right? So it's just such a bummer, as losses go, I wasn't the saddest because it wasn't like a last second, oh man, we failed and we lost right at the end there. We let that game go. No, this was, we were getting beat pretty handily and we should have lost by about 50 points. That's what it felt like. It felt like that was going to be a blowout. And frankly, it very well could have been. But we got Lamar Jackson. And what this guy can do is special. Did he have his best game? No, definitely not. But that game, that passing performance, was still better than anything he did last year. That running ability, it's better than what he did last year. He is an improved guy. And so when I have talked about Lamar Jackson being an MVP candidate, I don't think that is out of the question still. Now, I think this hurts it somewhat because, not in the fact of how he played, it's because he played up against Patrick Mahomes. And so at the end of the year, when they're talking about MVP candidates and Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes are there, they're going to say, hey, well, when these two teams played, who were we talking about? We were talking about Patrick Mahomes. Now, I think towards the end of the year, the debate's going to be, well, Patrick Mahomes has Andy Reid and those fast wide receivers. Lamar Jackson has Greg Roman and Lamar Jackson. I love what Hollywood's done. I like the Ravens playmakers, but I think they're nowhere near Kansas City's level. I think we can all say that. I think there's an argument that could be made. As a Ravens fan, I am willing to hear it and would probably agree with you. But I think nationally, people say, hey, Hollywood Brown was explosive, but who else you got? That's what they're going to say. Who else you got? Mark Andrews had some good plays. But besides that, you're going to compare Travis Kelce to Mark Andrews. I would, but I don't think they would, And so that is going to kind of be the debate. We're going to have to see Lamar Jackson continue to improve and play like he did in the first 2 weeks. Put up electrifying runs and throw the ball deep downfield. And, I think it might have been a big stage type thing where it's like, okay, I'm going up against Mahomes. I know you can rip the ball, Mahomes, but you want to see me do it? You want to see me do it again? I think he was just trying to out Mahomes. And it's like, no, Lamar, you got to out Lamar him. You got to run the damn ball and throw rainbows. Stop trying to throw beams down the field, down deep, because no one can really throw line drives deep downfield and get a completion besides Patrick Mahomes. He's the only one that I've ever seen that can do it consistently, because it's such a hard pass. You're either going to overshoot, undershoot. It's just super difficult when you throw it on that line. You gotta drop it in, right? You gotta drop it and place it just up and over, so that way the receiver, if it's not a perfectly thrown ball, can get away. He can run underneath it and do whatever, And so it was still surprising to see that he ended up with like 200-something yards passing, because it did not look good really for most of the game. And Lamar Jackson, man, he's got that ability. When you're down, when your team seems out of it, he can march down the field with a comeback, right? He did it last year against the Chargers in the playoffs. Obviously, we ended up losing, and we ended up losing this game. But he was fighting, and he put our team back in position. That clutch gene, where there was 2 Hail Marys on that last scoring drive, where he threw it up all the way across the field, from the right side of the field, from like basically the sideline to the other sideline, like 20 yards downfield. That's like a 50-yard throw. I don't know if that's really how far it is, but that's what it seemed like, because he was running and heaved it off his back foot, and it just dropped right to where Willie Snead was, and he was able to beat the cornerback for the ball. And that was like, what? Did he seriously just do that? And then later on in that drive, he was getting sacked. It might not have been the same drive. I'm pretty sure it was. But in that, he was getting sacked, and he was going down and just threw it up. And Seth Roberts made a great play on the ball. I thought he pushed off. I thought it was clear and obvious that he pushed off, but they didn't call it on the field, and so to overturn it, they would have needed more information. But it's like, how are you not going to call that? But yet you're going to call Willie Snead on that ticky-tack holding. You're going to call some other bullshit, and it's like, come on, dude. And speaking on those calls a little bit more, Justice Hill, man, I feel bad for him. I feel like he's like one of the unluckiest running backs. Anytime he has a successful play, there's a penalty. Now, I know he had that one screen pass last week that he got down inside like the 2-yard line, but that's it. That's his one play. And even in the preseason, anytime he would break a nice run, it's like for like a long distance. Now, he still had that touchdown run, but that wasn't a far distance. It was still just in the 2-yard line. But anytime he gets like a 10-plus yard run, there's a fucking penalty. And it happened in the preseason, so I was thinking, hey, man, once he gets in with the starters, then that shit won't happen. Well, gets in with the starters, he has a good run, and next thing you know, oh, it's a fucking holding. Who was holding? I don't know. Number 25? Tavon Young getting called for holding or pass interference. And yeah, that was another one. Offsetting penalties when the Chiefs had 2 penalties and we had 1. How the fuck is that offsetting? You tell me, math. When does 2 equal 1? Tell me, bro. Stephen Hawking, can you riddle me that? 2 is never equal to 1. That was his robot voice, if you couldn't tell. Bill Nye the Science Guy, please explain to me how 2 is equal to 1. It's not. On my taxes, I have to say single, right? Because I'm 1. I'm not 2. I'm not married. Yeah, and it's just so fucking stupid. Like that is such a loophole. It's obviously. I mean, I would understand if we had like what would be deserving of a 15-yard penalty, and they had like 2 5-yard penalties. Then yeah, I think they should just take the yardage and just sum it all up. Say, all right, you guys go back 5 yards now, right? Don't just cancel them out. They're 2 separate fucking penalties. Let's say we get like a false start. What is that, like a 5-yard penalty? And let's say that in the same play, one of the defenders punches someone in the face, just punches Lamar in the face. Penalties offset in that situation, right? Wouldn't they offset? But they're not offsetting penalties. And I don't know this for sure. Maybe I'm just talking out of my butt. But on the on that situation on Sunday, it's how the fuck does 2 penalties equal 1? How is that offsetting? I'll tell you what, it's off-putting. That's for damn sure. So that shit just pissed me off. But I was talking about Lamar Jackson. And I still think he's going to become the MVP. At least he's going to be on the cover of Madden. That's for damn sure. And I think I saw a few like national media members talking about that game. And they're hyping up Mahomes. And like, well, he can still freaking do it. Yeah, albeit against the Ravens defense that everyone says is great, but without their top 2 corners, or no, in one drive, 3 of their top 3 corners, their top 3, when Marlon Humphrey was out, which I don't even know why he was out. John Harbaugh said it was a physical issue, but he didn't elaborate on that anymore. So who actually knows what the hell went down? But I mean, you go into the most into enemy territory, tough place like Kansas City to play, and then you got to go and you got to play up against the refs, and you're doing it with your hands behind your back because you're missing Jimmy Smith, Tavon Young, and on a few plays, Marlon Humphrey. You go in against the most high-powered offense without your best corners, you're not going to have a good time. All right? And the object is all about having fun. Am I right? And that plus we got that interception, and Tony Jefferson was called for holding or pass interference. We turned the ball over on downs, and Matt Judon gets a fucking horse collar tackle, roughing the passer. He's like, guys, can we please just help ourselves out? Anytime we had an opportunity to kind of take over that game or at least get things into our favor, we're just biting ourselves in the foot. And it's like, how are we so flexible? No, but we were kicking ourselves in the ass. We were ruining our own opportunity. And we're not going to win any sort of meaningful games in the playoffs if we play like this. You're going to have to play well to win playoff games and then the Super Bowl. Now, at the Super Bowl, it's another story because you need luck. I mean, every team that wins the Super Bowl, it requires a bit of luck. Now, to get to the Super Bowl, not so much, but you need the ball to bounce your way at some point during the season or in the playoffs to get to the Super Bowl and win it. Every team has had that. The Chiefs last year in that title game, I think if they get the ball in overtime first, they go ahead and win and go to the Super Bowl. The coin just didn't flip their way. And the Ravens had to at least be at that spot, They had to be in the position where a coin flip doesn't ruin their chances. But that's neither here nor there. That's like way down the line. But, the Chiefs, they are a good fucking team. It was their home opener at a place like Arrowhead. That's the name of the stadium? Yeah, Arrowhead. That was going to be a tough game no matter what, without putting yourself in bad positions. And we still ended up very close at the end there. No moral victories, but hey, you did good, sport. I mean, with the offense not buzzing on all cylinders, buzzing on maybe like 2 out of 6 cylinders, the defense giving up way too much, I think we did all right. Not the best, but we did all right. I don't think there's any other players that I really want to highlight. Nothing that I can think of. There was that one play Lamar Jackson. I think it was considered a sack, but the guy was like on his back and he started giving him a piggyback ride. I thought that would have been hilarious if he just kept running with him. But man, I heard like even the announcer said it right. When you play Lamar Jackson, you're going to have to bring some extra tape for those ankles because he put the sauce on some people. He blended them up as the Chiefs player. I think Chris Jones was the one saying it. He blended some fools out there. Like that one where he kind of ran to the right. I think he only got like 5 yards, but he's running to the right, looking to pass, looking to pass, looking to pass. He tucks the ball, lunges forward, and then the defender kind of like tries to break down and get to him, and then Lamar just puts the brakes and steps back and outside, and the dude just kind of like, when you stop yourself and you're like, whoop, and he's just stuck in that position, and he just kind of slowly falls back like, fuck. That was hilarious. Like, man, he was crossing dudes up, and then down at the end zone, I forget what was that, like a 10-yard run, just sprinting to the outside. He had the spot. He was shake and bake, cut it inside, and he dodged the one guy, and then someone else was right there, and it almost seemed like slow motion. He kind of spun into the end zone. I was like, yes, there's Lamar Jackson. There's that human highlight reel, and that's why I think he's still going to be considered an MVP by the end of this year, because you can't stop that. He is a human highlight reel, right? I think when it comes to Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson, Mahomes, he needs other people to make his highlights. He needs other people to help him make plays, right? And Lamar Jackson, at least from what I've seen, and this may be a stupid argument. You may agree, you may disagree with this, but I think when it comes to the highlight reel, just the highlight reel, Lamar Jackson, he does it on his own, right? You know, consider his running, that kind of shock and awe value, that's what wins you the MVP. And, you know, there's no requirement from another player to do anything. You know, and that's not really true, because obviously you need help from all angles, but I think Mahomes gets more help than Lamar Jackson does. If that makes sense. And I don't want to diminish our offense. I don't want to diminish what Patrick Mahomes has done. But, you know, that is what the debate is going to be when it turns to these two guys. Mahomes has more help, and Lamar, his runs, those are just some highlights. The highlightiest of highlights. But, you know, that was Patrick Mahomes, and that shit's tough to defend. He's willing to throw it, and they just go deep every single time. Or at least that's the vertical pass game. That's what they depend on. And I know I've heard some people talking about Earl Thomas and how he wasn't worth whatever we paid him. He's not worth whatever the price because he's not playing up to that level. These past 2 games, we played against the Cardinals, a spread team, 4 wide receivers on the field. And this game, Patrick Mahomes with a bunch of weapons, vertical downfield, where there's always 2 or more verts on each play. He can't cover everybody. At some point, our cornerbacks are going to have to do something on their own. And Marlon Humphrey, he can do it. Now Jimmy Smith, he can do it. Tavon Young, he can do it. But who do we got? We still got Marlon Humphrey, but we got Anthony Averett, who's, you know, he's not that top level. He's good, he's serviceable, but he's not elite. When you're talking about going up against the Chiefs, you need an elite guy. And so he's just not that guy. And then Maurice Kennedy, who was on our practice squad. So, you know, when you're playing with scrubs, that's just what happens. The offense would have had to be clicking on all cylinders, would have had to have made some plays that we would have thought not possible, and they just weren't able to do it. I think the defense just wasn't helping them out. Obviously, it's a team loss. It takes 2 to tango, both sides of the ball. But I think this is more on the defense. Now, how do you stop Mahomes? I don't think you do, but hell. That second quarter, Man, that second quarter for the Chiefs, it's looking about as elite as the third quarter for the Warriors, where they just go up and just start bombing threes. That apparently the second quarter is just their mamma jamma. So that way, when the team goes into halftime, they're like, fuck. Our game plan is not fucking working. And then they can just kind of salt the clock or milk the clock and just kind of end that game on their terms. But we gave them a fight. But I was talking about our secondary. And we got issues, right? We need Jalen Ramsey. Pay the man. Send the picks. I don't give a fuck what you do. Is this an overreaction? Probably. But I thought they should have done it before. And I honestly think, with all those rumors and everything, I think the trade might have already happened. That's kind of why Jalen Ramsey was playing on that Thursday night game. I think if he wasn't traded in principle, now I'm hoping we hear any moment now that, hey, the trade went through. But my theory is that the trade already went down. That's why he was comfortable with himself saying, hey, I want to play one last time with my boys because I ain't going to be here next week because the trade's already through. But before everything gets announced and I go there, I want to play with my guys one last time. Now, for a guy who's got issues in the locker room, hey, that seems pretty bad, right? He wants to play with his teammates. He wants to go out and win for his boys. What a cancer in the locker room, right? Oh, how dare you care about your teammates, Jalen Ramsey? Disgusting. Get the fuck out of here. But I mean, yeah, you team him up with Marlon Humphrey, two guys that can just, and when Jimmy Smith comes back, you're talking three guys who can conceivably lock up a man, lock up a receiver. Now, maybe more Jalen Ramsey and Marlon Humphrey, those two guys can lock up man-to-man. And Jimmy Smith, well, it's a wait and see. He's not as good as he used to be, but he's still better than what we got out there besides Marlon Humphrey. He's still better than Maurice Kennedy, Cyrus Jones, and Brandon Carr. Yeah, it's nothing against Brandon Carr. It's just he's older and slower. Jimmy's a little bit faster, a little bit younger, but still pretty old. But he's better. And if we had the ability to go man-to-man that whole game, and we would have been able to send more blitzes. We would have been able to hit Mahomes and get in his face, and that causes you to throw the ball off the mark. Now, I still think he would have made some awesome, crazy plays, but we would have had to make him work for it. We let him sit back there, and he was able to just carve us up. We need Jalen Ramsey, all right? Know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying? I do believe I know what you were saying. So it's never good to lose. But like I said before, even a 15-1 team loses once. Now, the rest of the year, I don't want to overlook any opponents. It's what? The Patriots? I think that's the game to worry about. I think we can go toe-to-toe with anybody. And after seeing how we played this game and where the final score ended up, I believe in ourselves in a rematch with these guys. I feel like we can learn more from this game than the Chiefs can, because the Chiefs were able to have a lot of success. So it's like, well, let's just redo what we did, and hopefully it works. But we had a lot of miscues and a lot of mistakes, so we have the ability to learn more from that. Right? Either you win or you learn. Isn't that right? Isn't that the saying? Either you win or you learn. And we didn't win. So, goddamn, I hope we learned something. Let me learn you something, Ravens. You lost. So, yeah, man. On to next week, right? Let's get after Baker Mayfield. That Browns team isn't looking as good as everyone hyped him up to be, which is what us Ravens fans, we kind of thought. Even I a little bit bought into the hype a little bit that was going around. It's like, well, I guess they could be a really good team on offense. But, they have like zero offensive line, but their defense is still pretty good. So I can't wait to see that matchup. Can't wait to have the Baker versus Lamar. I can't wait for that to be the rivalry in the NFC North or AFC North. Ooh, whoa, gross. Did I just say NFC North? Oh, get your life, bro. Do you have a podcast? Talking this nonsense. But yeah, man. I think that's going to be the premier matchup in the AFC North this year. And I think it's going to continue to be that way because Andy Dalton is trash. Big Ben, he ain't really in it. In these teams, man, I think these are the rivalries. Purple versus orange. Isn't that like a classic color clash? Classic color clash. Orange doesn't go with purple, okay? It doesn't even match, right? I don't think it matches. You know, I'm not a fashionista, but those colors clash, right? Anyways, yeah, man. There's nothing really else I want to talk about. I'm sure I'll think of something. As always, I always think of something. But like I said, as always, this is off the cuff. This is not written down. There's no notes for this episode. I'm just talking Ravens. You know, I'm passionate about this team. And that's why I lost. Albeit this wasn't a bad loss, if there is such a thing. But it won't ruin my week. It's not a Cundiff missed extra point, right? It's not a drop touchdown that gets you the win. It's not the other team coming back and beating you at home. It's none of those. This was a game that we were handedly getting beaten throughout the whole game, and then we ended up almost coming back, where I had lost hope, and then hope almost came back, right? Lamar almost brought that twinkle back to my eye. But too little, too late, and I'm still hyped about my boys, my Ravens, my mains, my football crew. What it do? Killed it in the bets this week. I mean, not killed it, but I got 4 wrong, possibly 5, and possibly 6 with this Redskins-Bears game tonight. Which, that Patriots-Jets game, I lost that by half a point. I bet the under, and the under was set at 43.5. They scored 44. You fuck. You fuck. God damn it, Tom Brady. Just ruining everything for everybody. TB12. To be honest, fuck you. So, yeah, that's going to do it, man. I'm done talking about this game. I'm looking forward to the next one. But I'll record a separate podcast looking forward to that game. And I'll do a dick pics podcast. It's not a podcast where I just take pictures of my dick. No. It's an episode where I pick the games. And I'll do that for week 4. That'll come out later on in the week. So will the preview for the Browns versus Ravens. That'll come out later in the week. But for right now, if you're... For whatever reason, if you want to listen to Ravens content about a loss, it's here for you, man. It's here for you to listen. And if you listen to the whole thing, you are a trooper. So with that being said, thank you for listening, and can't wait for you to come back next episode. I don't know. So thanks again. Thanks for listening to this content, and have a good day. And go Ravens. Am I right?